Good morning,
Morning.
everybody.
What's
We are
up?
back. We are back with a new mini series, Credible Vulnerability Moments. And
Yes.
we wanted to kind of extend, do like that overarching type of a series because we had two great series before talking about um, site strategy moments. And then, of course, last month was understanding vulnerability moments. So this month we're putting it all together, doing like a little mesh. And we're going to talk about how can you use that vulnerability that you just learned about, all those different strategies, the different types. How could you use those to build credibility for yourself online, in the world of your business, in just your personal life? So how can you bring that all together? And just to add an extra step where we're going to end off with this mini series is how do you put all of that together on a website? Because a lot of clients that I work with, like, what? Like, I don't talk about myself. What do I say? What? And all of that, part of that comes from you understanding what's your purpose. Why even have this business? Why have people try to trust you? Because you always hear learn, like, trust, all that good stuff. But how can people trust you if you can't even be vulnerable enough to be you? That's where all the authenticity comes from. What do you think, Carl? And good
Yeah.
morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. We fired up on a Friday. Appreciate all of your guys that's checking in, that's tuning in. Let us know where you're tuning in from because we loving these series. We just had two lovely ones, and we think going to keep it going because it's beneficial not only to us, but it's beneficial to you. We get to kind of walk you through the vulnerability piece and the website piece and how that's put to connect together to
Yes.
kind of make your brand and your business and how you stand out. Because to be honest with you, you can't get no website without you being vulnerable enough to know what you need, what you provide, and the value you have. And if you haven't done an
Hmm.
in-depth evaluation of your own self, in those things, you won't be able to present what you need to give to others. So you definitely won't be in that. So we kicking it off live. We appreciate you guys. We got people in Michigan. Love it. Tina, thank you for showing up. LinkedIn user from Jersey City, Rocket St. Peters. You guys did an
What?
awesome job in the tournament. Houston's in the house. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, we is getting in this morning. So we just gonna hit it off
Yes.
this morning. This is the credibility vulnerability, credible vulnerability moments. And we're using the vulnerability to build your credibility. I did a post about maybe a year ago. So said vulnerability is your credibility. So when people are able to attach to you and make that connection to you through vulnerable means, you are already a credible person as of who you are. And that is the most that's your wealth right there, regardless of whatever
Hmm.
thing you're trying to sell, whatever product you're trying to push, whatever service you're trying to engage people in. When people are able to connect with you, that is automatic wealth right there. So vulnerability helps you to do that.
Yes. And where we can go into right now is that myth buster. It's not vulnerability without the
Oh,
tears. If you're not crying, it's not real. We touched about this
oh,
throughout the other two series, especially in March. Do you really have to be on camera or in person? Because you have the speakers as well. They're telling their story. They're getting it out. They're trying to help people understand what their journey was like. But do you have to every time someone sees you cry or be really emotional about what the journey was? Well, how to for you to say you're being vulnerable or be seen as vulnerable? And I'm gonna have you, Mr. Vulnerability, kick that off us.
yeah. This is one of the biggest. This goes right along with the number one myth concerning vulnerability that it's a weakness, right? And we've been so in tune with this kind of taking this to a myth buster or even taking it to a cliche kind of topic. Everybody knows vulnerability not a weakness, vulnerability not a weakness. But the opposite of that is how many of us are leaning into our vulnerability, how many of us are embracing it, how many of us are knowing that that's really the authentic true self, that's us. So with that, a lot of times it's emotional. Being in vulnerable spots are emotional spots. Don't get me wrong. There are places that's uncomfortable for you, situations may be, but a lot of that is just targeted by fear and you not really embracing the person you are. Even if you're able to in those moments and areas, they don't cause for tears all the time. Now, don't get me wrong, people do cry. Some things are emotional, some things can be overwhelming, and especially situations and spots. But to show your vulnerability, it does not automatically mean that they come with tears. I show my vulnerability all the time in different conversations, in different settings, in front of people, in front of masses. I've done it on Zooms. I've shared my story. That has not brought a tear. Now, do they trigger some things in some people? Absolutely, because people connect with that. People will connect with bad situations because we've all had them. But I've been able to embrace it, and once you start embracing that, the tear moments won't come, but the power will come because you'll start making those deeper connections with people to say, yo, dude, been through that. Man, I could get through it too. Because what we have, someone needs. I always say that. You got what somebody needs. So you got to share it for them to get it.
Yeah, and with that, you want to be as authentic to you as possible. For me, being vulnerable doesn't mean being emotional, but it
Hmm.
means sharing things I normally wouldn't, or going in a direction of I guess, not even just storytelling, but details, giving certain information. That's for me vulnerable, right? And saying to, or admitting to yourself and others, like, you know what, this wasn't for me, or I didn't do well as I thought I would. I failed. Being open enough to say things like that. A lot of times you're not gonna have to pretend. You don't have to search for things like that. There's people we have not gone through certain things, right? We have not gone through certain struggles, and that's okay. You just want to find other ways to be vulnerable. Like, what else is it? Maybe you don't know everything. That's a vulnerability to admit that. And with you, Carl, a lot of times you're helping men especially try to break through that mindset of vulnerability is a weakness and
Hmm.
what the misconceptions they think about vulnerability. What's the most common thing you've heard, and how do you help them get through that?
The most common phrase I've heard, especially from men, I don't do vulnerability. Like it's you have a choice. Like it's something like playing the lottery. I don't play the lottery. Like it's like I don't gamble. Like it's something that you can actually control. You're put in vulnerable spots all the time. It's just the action of you really being able to embrace it, or do you hide from it? Most of us, that especially men, when we're put in vulnerable situations, we throw up the gates. We throw up the fences, not letting nobody in here, not in this space. But see, that's the opportune time where you let someone in because growth occurs. When you're in those vulnerable spots, we fail to realize that's an opportunity for us to grow past where we are. And when we don't take those opportunities, we become stagnant. And therefore, that happens a lot in leadership. And the companies get stagnant, departments get stagnant because leaders fail to embrace vulnerability. Vulnerability is not the weakness of you can't do this, you can't do that. That's a power. I can't do everything. I couldn't do my website. So I said, Charlene, help me with my website. Simple thing. It didn't change anything about me. It didn't take anything from me. It did not take my credibility. It did not take my manhood. It did not take a lot of things which we think are on the line when we shed that vulnerability cage. And that does help build credibility. If I'm able to say, yo, I don't know this piece of something, someone has more respect for you than for me to lie and fudge my way through it and then make a catastrophe of it. But there's as leaders, we miss that opportunity all the time. And a lot of it stems from pride. We don't want nobody to know we don't know. Well, let me tell you something. Everybody know you don't know, especially those that's been working with you. They know your tendencies. They know what you can do. They even know how you talk. They even know how you move. They even know if something was done, who did it. So when you're working in these avenues and you're in these areas, it's best for you to just let the guard down. You'd be surprised how much power you'll feel.
Yeah, and I love that you said people know you already.
Yeah.
There's different sides to our personalities that we may not be aware of, but other people are.
Mhm.
And it was I learned this through when I was getting my psychology that degree that when you are not paying attention, there's four sides. Like there's the person that you put out, you
Mhm.
purposely put out. There's the side that you keep to yourself. There's a side that other people know but you're not aware, and there's just another side to you that nobody is gonna be aware of. But
Mhm.
when you're doing that deep dive, because that's where the vulnerability comes in. You're doing a deep dive, trying to understand who you are, trying to understand where you're coming from, where these emotions that you might feel about certain topics, even especially when it comes to your business, your career, the passions that you say you're chasing, right? Why are you so passionate about things? Why is this your purpose? You hear a lot of those terms getting pushed around. Find your passion and do your godly work and all this kind of stuff. But how can you do that if you have not broken down the walls to get to know who you are, at least on some deeper level? And then through that, that's when you start to say, okay, every time I'm out there in the public eye, now I can be me because I know who I am. I can be authentically me. And then you start to build that credibility because you're consistently doing that. You're consistently being that way. If you're vulnerable about something, you're consistently vulnerable about it. That's why you're building the credibility. So a lot of times people are like, well, I don't see how that goes together. That's how that goes together. If you're being consistently you, you're being consistently vulnerable. And because of that consistency, you're building your credibility. We've already known a couple of people who got exposed because they weren't consistent. Like they would show their whole behind in a whole nother area, but thought that the world was too big. Trust me, the world not that big. Folks are
Ah,
talking. Folks
yeah,
in
it's
these
not that big.
streets, they talking. They in these internet streets, they're talking. So people are getting exposed publicly and behind the scenes. So
Mhm.
you want to make sure that whatever you're putting out there, you're being consistent about it. You're being truthful about it. And then that's how you're going to build your credibility. And I want us to,
Absolutely.
to jump into this the authentic self. And you came up with these 3 points because this is what you do. So evaluation,
Mhm.
where do you come from with this when you're saying the authentic self? What are we evaluating?
We're evaluating ourselves, and a lot goes into that. That's one of the first steps in the program that I run and deal with leaders is introduction. We have to introduce ourselves to ourselves. For so many years, we've put on different facades from different areas in our life, different parts of our life, and we continue to carry those. A lot of it stems from the childhood. What was molded in you as a child? Even those that I've ran into or I've dealt with, or clients that I've had, they've had these parents that were hyper vigilant about the things that they achieved and those kind of things. That's setting a mold right there in a child that says, I have no room for failure because I have to be excellent.
Mhm.
And those kind of patterns continue to carry themselves even into adulthood. Those frameworks that you have, those interactions. How is this when I shared this before? My dad was a hard stickler for books and learning. I would come home with a B that would not satisfy him. So
Mm.
I was torn a lot of times with just like this excellence push, right? And we do this with our children based upon the fact that we want them to be better. We want them to be great at what they do. But a lot of times we don't know that we're really being a cancer to them propelling and growing and living and experiencing life as you know it. I'm not talking about the safety part. That's what a parent's supposed to do. But I'm just talking about those little things that we push. Maybe I was an athlete and my child is starting to play sports. I didn't make it that far. I see he has opportunity to. I'm going to push him. That's just an example. But a lot of times in that, we have to evaluate who we are. What's our values? What are our values? Not the values that comes from the marriage or the relationship, not the values that the office or corporate tells us. What are our values? What are our non-negotiables? What are the things that make us move? We have to evaluate those. And we have to do that on a continuum because each and every level of your life through successes and failures, those change. They change the way you look at them, but they should not change the way that you are. My value should be this, regardless of whether I'm at home or regardless if I'm in the street. And this is how we break down the facade because we come the authentic individual who we are. And you can only do that through evaluating who you are, what you are, and where you want to be.
Yes, and people call you out when you're not in your character, right? So,
Yeah.
so if you're not doing what people have seen you do all this time, they're like, wait a minute, that's odd. That's hella odd, and it can go anyway. And we're not gonna speak about the topic or the situation, but we already experiencing that, whether
Hmm.
we want to or not, of something that's went out totally left and out
Yeah.
of character. Now everybody is questioning judgments. You got people coming up from under rocks talking.
Hmm.
You got it all happening. Why? Because whatever authentic um persona that was already put out for all these years was shattered through one moment. Now, if that's not something that you do, you got to really sit back and ask yourself, well, what made me go that way? What's making me come out of my character if that's truly what's going on? And when you are now doing the same thing, when you have clients that come out their face, it may be you in your corporate life and somebody you work with, your peer comes out their face. And when I say come out of
Mhm.
their face, they now attacking you publicly, they talking down to you, and you know, a lot of times people talk to you sideways. They
Yes.
like to pretend it's a joke, but they really are insulting you. They like to act as though they're trying to help you, but it's almost like you can see the sabotage happening, but you don't know how to stop it. So all of these things, you have to really sit down and ask yourself, okay, am I in a place where I need to be? Is this allowing me to express myself? Is it changing who I want to be? That's something else too. Are these situations that you're in changing how you're supposed to behave? Or are you responding properly? Are you responding the way that you hoped? Are you responding in the way that you normally would respond? If not, you got to evaluate yourself.
Yeah, you got it. And Gabe hits it right on. I was just looking at the quotes. If you understand your core values and you live at them with integrity. See, this is where a lot of people can't stand on the vulnerability because they've been living a lie. What they've
Mm-hmm.
been showing you is not the truth, so they definitely can't afford to be vulnerable. It's
Right.
sort of kind of thing like your hand in the cookie jar. You can't afford to get caught. So when you're not living in that authenticity, wherever you see me, whether you see me on a live, you see me on someone's show, you see me in a Zoom, you see me doing a meeting, webinar, whatever, I'm the same Carl because I have nothing to hide. Yes, there's a skeletons in my closet. They are back there, but people know about them. The ones that
Mm-hmm.
I do want to know about them, the ones I'm going to interact with. And some know about them just for the simple fact that I want them to see that hasn't deterred me from being who I can be. Because a lot of
Right.
times we let those skeletons sit on us and they bones, y'all. We let them sit on us with a weight of us not being authentic because we worried about something that has happened to us in the past. We can't live up to the expectations of those who put them on us. That's where the evaluation come in. Is this my expectation, or am I carrying this expectation from my supervisor, my spouse, my significant other, my parents, my children? Like everyone puts their expectations on you and they don't even know it, but we carry that burden just because we don't shake it off. I think Jay-Z had a song, something like that a few years ago, dirt off your shoulders. And that's just exactly what I do, and that's how I live. And that breeds the integrity and authenticity of who you are. And when people see you, they'll say, yo, that dude's real.
Right. And that once you start to go through the evaluation process, of course, you got to start
Yes.
accepting what you are doing. What is your authentic self? Who are you authentically?
Mhm.
And then continue to push that out. Go strong and go hard on that because now you can't be questioned. You already understand where your depth comes from.
Yes, you
No one
do.
can come at you and question you because you've done the work.
You put it in, and acceptance is just that. Where I am, I accept. Now there's a couple
Mhm.
of avenues to go from there. I can accept the fact that I'm not where I need to be. I can accept the fact that I have room to grow. I can accept the fact that there's things in my life that I need to change. It's all a part of accepting. And there's also the other road. I can accept the fact that 10 years ago I may have been a drunk. I can accept the fact that I may have got arrested. I can accept the fact that I may have a record. But now I'm on a path and a pattern that's who I was. And now I'm going to some place of where I'm going to be. And now,
Mhm.
will that keep me from doing things? Oh, yeah, this might be shameful. You might have been in a place and a point in your life where, things wasn't how you wanted them to be, but they were your life. And it was a
Right.
decision that you made. Accept that. It's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with that. There'll be some that'll discount you. There'll be some that'll try to discredit you. But in the essence of you emboldening and embracing that brings about a strength and a power that no one can take away from you. Yes, I was an alcoholic 20 years ago. Fine now. Haven't touched a drink in 25 years. Let's move on. There's no power in that. I can't sit and be, nah, 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 nah. You're an alcoholic. It's gone. I'm not doing that no more. Or I'm sober every day. I'm going to meetings every day. Those are kind of things. So I've empowered. I know I junked up that job. I wasn't ready to do that, but I've grown from that point. I'm matured. My
Mhm.
maturation is there. So it's just accepting who you are. And those are the things that empower us. And every day I say it again, I love saying it. Every day we miss that. We miss that because we can't around guilt and shame of things that have happened in our lives. And we're letting others control our growth when we don't fulfill what we need to fulfill and accept it.
Yes, and when you know that you're going through something, you've made it to the other side, you're accepting who you are. You're right. Don't make this a time now to look down on others. That's another downfall that people get.
Yes.
When they've gone through whatever their situation is, and now they feel like, oh, well, you should have been able to do this. Here are my
Mhm.
10 easy steps. You should be able to follow these steps.
Oh Lord, don't
Everybody's
talk
going to
about
go through
don't talk about these
Everybody's
stuff.
going to go through the motions differently. Now, can there be core suggested steps? Of course. But what you cannot do is expect people to one, go through them, two, get the same experience as they go through them. And three, you can't expect that it's going to work the same. I think that's another thing that we always see. Folks give their recommendations, but then it turns into this is their order. If you're not doing it this way, then you ain't not doing it at all. That's not true. We all can find ways to the end, to that magic space that we need to be in our own way. Now, if you're giving guidance, then call it that. But don't
Mhm.
start to look down on someone because you and them have two different paths. We all are going to have two different paths, more than one path to get to the same place. And where that place should be is where you want to feel authentic, where you know you are comfortable. And that's another thing. You want to be comfortable in being vulnerable. You want to be comfortable in being able to accept who you are. Because sometimes the acceptance is we accepting something ugly. We're accepting something that, you know what, I have a bad temper. You know, I can be a shitty friend. I can do something wrong and I'm always barking at somebody else.
Mhm.
That is me. I need to work on that. That's part of acceptance too.
Absolutely. That's why I said acceptance is two roads. And a lot of times shame and judgment keep us off of that road. And that's the actual road that we need to stay on because that's the key road to empower us to be better. Because once we
Mhm.
get that acceptance of the failures we've had, accept those failures and accept the learning from those failures. A lot of times we learn in silence. Things are taught to us and things are shown to us, and we never expound on those to help others grow. We keep those things to ourselves. We find that a lot in jobs and in leadership. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you 90% of what I know because I don't want you to take my job. It enforces my power when I can tell you 100% of what I know. You're able to complete that, and I can move to something else. I don't have to harbor this of insecurity that you gonna come here for me or this is that. And this is a lot of what we have in us with not being accepted. There's an insecurity there. They won't accept me. Accept yourself, live empowering yourself, and people will accept you. The ones that are truly going to be there, the ones that truly need to be in your circle, they'll accept you, and everybody else, they'll roll off your back like water on a duck.
As they should, and maybe back into the
Absolutely.
alley where they at. So
Oh, I didn't go all of that. I ain't go all of that. That's that New Yorker,
sometimes
y'all. That's that New
sometimes you just
York.
need you need to clear the way. You need to take people off your list.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and
Purge.
that's how it works. That's how it works. So
Yeah.
so when I the reason why I said that is because the next step is
Oh,
elimination.
look at that. Look at that segue come right in there. Yes, you got to
The
eliminate
next way
that.
is elimination. You got to start eliminating things out of your life so you
Yes.
can really sit in comfort of your authentic self. And so
That
kick
was
it off
funny
for
right
us,
there.
sir.
Yes, I'm gonna get that elimination since it was so eloquently segue to this next section. The elimination is key. Once you find out that the evaluation is done, it's just like a test, just like a multiple choice test. Once you evaluating the true answer, you eliminated those that were not the answer, such as life. When you have the things inside of you that you've accepted, you eliminate those things that are around you are not shining the true light on you, and those are the things that we get because we all seek and social media. This is why social media thrives. It thrives on the premise of things are okay. Yeah, I'll say that again. It thrives on the premise that everything's okay. That's how social media bonds. That's how social media thrives, right? Everybody is put on there to this such a facade of I'm perfect. I'm a 10. I work out. I got a car. I got a yacht. I got a home. Look at my castle. Like everything is on the premise of that's all right. I would
Yeah.
love to get on social media and just put the dredge on there. Yo, I'm living in the gutter. I'm in the streets. It's water roll over me every night. Mice is my friend. Those kind of things, yeah, people not empowering themselves in that. They're not embracing those. But the elimination really just comes from the fact that I've accepted who I am. And if you have a problem with it, I got to scratch you off my list. If you got an issue with it, I got to get you off my friends bucket. Just I purge my network every month. And why do I purge? It's not that the people that are in it are not great people. It's not that the people who are in it may not be, might hold some real, true key values to me moving forward. But there's no connection, there's no interaction, and there's no things going on. So for me, elimination standpoint is just let's get to the people that's about doing something instead of those that's sitting around judging, waiting for me, insisting that I do. Let's see if we can have some elimination of those that does not bringing us up, that's not moving us forward.
Yes.
Let's put the light on those who are continue to perpetrate that fraud.
And we we got some comments coming in on this, especially like comments have been coming in throughout the whole
Yeah, we
show, and
appreciate
we
you guys, all
appreciate
you
y'all.
guys checking in. I always love the love. I'm telling you, I appreciate you guys for real.
Yes, but because one in particular, John, always great
Yes,
to see
John.
you. He says social media is a highlight reel, and I want to also add to that, it's also a manufactured highlight reel because
Yeah,
a lot of those highlights are not
they
real.
produce, man. It's
They
Hollywood.
not real. They're trying to make people, and that's why social media has been taking such a hard hit because these kids are out here looking at these fake photos, these photoshopped photos or these
Mhm.
fake lives, and they're like, "Oh, I need to do this. This is not working out for me. I'm not getting the same thing." No, baby, they not getting it either. They not being honest about it. So you want to also start purging things in your network, in your system, in your life
Yes.
that don't make you feel good, that don't help celebrate you. And that's part of anything from TV, music, social media, anything that's just not helping you embrace who you are. Start purging that mess. Start
Mhm.
purging that mess.
Yes, because it's an opportune time when you see that when you sit back and you go through this process, right? And this is what I take
Hmm.
clients through: the evaluation, the acceptance, and the elimination.
Yes.
Those are key cycles to your life, and you need to be doing that all the time. That needs to be a process of all the time because you'll come to different levels in your life and different stages in your life where you have to continue that process. What am I evaluating? What level am I on now? Such as playing a video game. What does this level entail for me? What do I have to do to stay engaged in this level? That's the evaluation point. Okay, now I've accepted that. Let's work in that. Let's work in
Hmm.
everything that it takes us to be on this level of credibility. Let's use this vulnerability that we have to enhance our connections, our relationships, the
Hmm.
dynamic of who we are. Let's build that credibility. So after the evaluation and acceptance has come, okay, who's not here with me? That's it. I do a raise hand session. Who's not here? Who's for me? Who's not? It
Hmm.
seems cold, but for us to grow, we have to purge. I'm not a gardener, but I grow little flowers in the backyard, right? There's certain points of time in the season we coming up there if it stops snowing one day and being hot the next, that I have to go out there and purge those flowers, right? There's some dead roots, there's some grass there, some weeds have gotten grown up over the winter time. I got to go pluck that stuff out because now I got to make room for other things to come, such as life, such as nature, such as life. A lot of things follow the cycle, but we don't pay attention because we're running around on social media putting up highlight reels.
Fake highlight reel. So
I wasn't hitting y'all with the fake. I wasn't hitting y'all with the
that's just part of a little bit of what this series is going to be about,
Yes,
us
absolutely.
trying to figure out how to put it all together. And I just want to say thank y'all for coming out
Oh
because
man.
we hit that time already. It's already
Yeah.
last
That's it.
March the man, it was deep and it was a
Yeah.
longer time, but
Yeah,
I
because
want to make
she
sure that we
she
are.
trying to throw that shade on me, y'all. I accept that.
No, it was
No, I'll just
I ain't mess with you. So
growth through subtraction. I love that. I love that, John. I love that, John. Because that's exactly what it is. That's what our life is, really. We have to
yes.
purge things out of our life. How many of y'all are hoarders? Because if you got a
Oh
hoarder
child.
mentality, you're hoarding everywhere. It's not just the items and projects. It's things in your life that you're
And
hoarding
people.
and
Mm-hmm.
people that you're hoarding.
Yep.
You're keeping there. Let them people go. People come and go for seasons. Everybody not meant to stay. So
Exactly.
everybody not meant to stay.
Exactly. So before we head out, I want to make sure you guys know to head on over to
Yes.
BKLYNcustomdesigns.com. That's BrooklynCustomDesigns.com /live dash miniseries. You're going to catch us live and you're going to catch the replays just so you are a part of that. And also look out for the hashtag credible vulnerability. That's going to be this miniseries. We're going to try to remember because I always forget to use our hashtags and
Yes.
make sure that we are sharing the information, getting that out there. If you know somebody who needs to hear it, especially vulnerability moments, because that was a great series. Just
Absolutely.
share it, share the love, make sure that they're a part of it, and make sure that you guys catch us. Hold on, I got a whole bunch of pop-ups. Hold on. Make sure that
Yo,
you guys,
yo.
I
Sama,
know
thanks for coming in, man.
the
We appreciate
make sure
y'all.
that you guys know all about everything that we are doing. And next week we are coming back with another episode, and that's going to be about content. We're going to
Yes.
talk all about how to get the content going, how to really understand what the content you can create will allow you to continue showing that you're vulnerable and you're credible at the same time. So we're going to dive into how to create what kind of content to create, not even just how to create it, but what kind of content to create. That way you're not sitting there trying to create or manufacture vulnerability. You can do it right and do it authentically. So thank you guys. Thank you for coming through. And we appreciate y'all. Any last
Yeah.
words, sir?
Yo, I appreciate y'all. Appreciate the love. If you want to talk to me or chat to me, you want to be anywhere and you want to move into this program, let me know. Let me know. DM me. I live on LinkedIn. It's my second home. We growing together, y'all. It's all about that. You guys have a
Yes,
great
yes.
weekend. Stay safe, everybody.
Bye, y'all.